Hello, hi everyone. Welcome to ReaperCon. Woo! We are here today to discuss women in gaming and more importantly, the inclusivity of gaming. We have some amazing women here with us to discuss these things. I'll introduce myself first, and then we'll go around. Hi everyone, I'm Anjuli, Geek Girl Bookworm online everywhere. I paint miniatures. And I do all sorts of cool things online, panels, shows, and I work for a company called Aconite Books. We make great books from amazing worlds that you may have heard from in board games and card games. I will be the moderator of the panel, and we're going to go around next to Carol, who's next to me.
Oh, you want me? Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Carol Pandolph. I'm also under the Muses Touch miniature painting or at Muses_Touch on Twitter. I also have a DeviantArt and Instagram. You can also find me frequenting conventions in the New England area where I run mini painting events. And I also run them at a couple of stores. And I did that. Now that COVID's going on, it's not happening. But once it's over, I'll be back to doing all that. And the other thing is, I also am a longtime gamer and sometime GM. I've been gaming for about 30 years. I've been painting for about 20. And I am on a D&D Twitch stream known as Murder Hobo Inc. Mature audiences only, because someone has to be. So that's about me.
Okay, next we have M. Then.
Yeah, hi. I'm M, or Electric Eve. Online in general, I just haven't changed my Twitter, so I'm on Twitter as I can't think but Twitch and Insta and everything else as Electric Eve. I'm a full-time streamer of miniature painting, and I'm a commission painter, and I painted professionally for a few people. I used to work for a big company, but I don't anymore, so it's just what I do.
Excellent. And Sim.
Hi, I'm Sim. I probably most known for painting miniatures, despite haven't actually painted a miniature in about 2.5 years now. I just seem to be always around. But I'm quite happy to chat painting or gaming in general with anyone. I've been role-playing since the 90s. I've been playing computer games since the 80s. And probably wargaming would be my wheelhouse.
And Kathryn.
Oh, hi. I'm Kathryn. I'm better known as Joan_of_orc on Twitter. I've been in wargaming and gaming for most of my life, even though some people hear their history is like longer than I've been alive, so basically started with computer games, Warhammer, but I also have quite a long background in historical and scale historical, so I've got quite a wide range going on, but for me it's more about collecting than doing anything. So yeah, hello.
And Danie.
Hello, I'm Danie, better known as Danacea, like Panacea, but with a D, on various places on Twitter, on Insta. You can also find me on Tumblr occasionally, but not very often. And I've been gaming since the 80s, started with D&D when I was at university. I did 10 years in reenactment, walloping people with 2 feet of steel. I'm a Black Library author, so there we go. That is Sister Augusto, is my primary character. So if you haven't got this, no excuses, you need to go out and get it. And up until very recently, I was events manager and social media coordinator at Forbidden Planet, which some of you may have heard of. Sadly, that has come to an end in the past week.
Yes.
So I will be doing a lot more of this.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Annie.
Hello, I'm Annie. I run Bad Squiddo Games. So we're based in the UK and we specialise in believable female miniatures. So they're female miniatures that generally wear clothes, as you can expect. We also produce guinea pigs, all sorts of critters and scenics, and more everything. You can find us all over the internet as Bad Squiddo Games. So obviously representation of female miniatures in more games is my entire life. So hopefully I have something useful to say.
Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
Okay, so just to let chat know, I'm watching the chat. So if you do have any questions, you can pop them up there. I'll try and copy paste them as we're talking through and try and bring some of them up. I'm also watching the ReaperCon Discord as well. So anything, if you're on the Discord you want to have to say, feel free to go on that as well. I am moderating those as well as the panel itself. But we are here today not to talk just about ourselves, who are all wonderful and we should definitely talk about ourselves, but we're here to talk more about inclusivity. And when we say gaming, we mean wargaming, talking miniatures, we're talking painting, we're talking RPGs, video gaming, all of those things, to include not just women but minority groups as well, and make a sort of safe space for them. So I would like to just start with possibly talking about some barriers that are put up and sort of how people can go about stopping those barriers from being a thing anymore. Sim, you're good at talking.
Brody the Australian. I was very pleased to see they put a mature rating on this, so I don't have to be quite as careful with my swearing as I normally would on a public podcast. But can I just say, looking at the Discord on the ReaperCon, we've got this beautiful panel thread, channel, sorry, they're called channels.
Thread works too.
Where we've got all of these women who are coming in and telling some amazing stories about how they got going, and it's become a place where if I was new to ReaperCon or new to Discord, I would see this and see immediately that women are in here being listened to and being respected and being welcome, and that is something that comes up as a great big green flag to me rather than a red flag.
Yeah.
So it shows that it is somewhere where I can come and be comfortable and just be, rather than have that experience of walking through the door, virtual as this one is, and having the whole place like turn around and look like it's a girl in the game store sort of a thing. And I think that sort of thing where people reach out specifically to women or other minorities in a community and make the first step to make them feel welcome is definitely worthwhile.
I'd like to ask what people maybe think in regards to sort of game stores and actually in real life events rather than Discord. When you're online, you have a bit more chance to be anonymous. But if, for example, I owned a game store, you can't just put a big sign in that says women wanted. That tends to scare women and they don't want to go to those places. So have any of you had any like positive experiences about feeling welcome within a place, and if there are game stores and people watching, like what they can do to make it a safe space?
When I took my son, this was about 3-4 years ago, into our local gaming shop, I'd actually forgotten it was there. It's sort of tucked up right in the top corner of a precinct that now has almost no other stores in it. But we happened to see the poster and I took him in. And when I went in there, obviously the fella behind the counter just saw a middle-aged mum with a 10, 11-year-old boy and came out to try and explain to me the hobby. And I said to him, it's all right, mate. You know, I've been role-playing since the 1980s. I've been wargaming for years. And bless him, he didn't flicker. He didn't step back. He wasn't taken aback. He just realised and sort of upped his conversation a notch and spoke to me about gaming like I knew what I was talking about. You know, he didn't try to talk down to me. He didn't mansplain it to me. He just realised that I knew what I was about. And got my son painting his first miniature, which was absolutely fantastic. And it really is that simple. If a woman walks into your gaming store, she's not some strange tentacle beast from outer space. She's just somebody who knows about gaming, and you can talk to her like an equal. You know, it's really, really not rocket science.
It's not earth-shattering.
Yeah,
I mean, some of these people are a little bit awkward around women anyway.
No, fair enough, fair enough. Social awkwardness, we understand. We all understand that because we all experience it, you know. That's not a gender thing. That's just something that happens to everybody frequently. If you're by yourself a lot of the time and you go into a big store or a big convention or anything else, you come out for the first time and you go, oh, I've forgotten how to relate to people. Hold on. But it'll be right.
I think that will probably come up a lot more now that people have been spending time at home.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to add something there. Because, of course, there are women that are new to the hobby that will go into a game store and want to find out about it, just like there are men that are new to the hobby and will go into a game store. They should just be treated the same. Go up and ask them, can I help you? And leave it at that and let them direct the conversation.
Yeah.
Simple. It's as simple as that. No, we are not aliens. And I actually think because of the part of the world I'm in, part of even America that I'm in Massachusetts. So I think we tend to be we're a little more progressive here. So I haven't had a lot of, you know, I walk into a game store and all eyes just pop on me like I'm some weirdo. I've been pretty fortunate in that. But yeah, just treat people the same. That's really that simple.
Annie, did you have something to add there?
Yay. I think we've all got various horror stories and stuff like that. And other people, from talking to lots of different women, some have got way more horror stories than others. Some have just said, I've absolutely had no problem whatsoever. So I just wanted to point out it's important to sort of take into account that everybody's had their own different experience. And while some can sort of relate to others can't. But it's always important to, you know, the people that have had an awesome time just by chance, you know, to not go, well, I've had no problems, so therefore it's fine. But obviously some areas, some gaming shops are more, you know, toxic than others. Some you can go into and they're absolutely amazing and they'll sort of welcome you in. Others might just be run by an arsehole. So don't let that put you off, basically, if you do happen to find the crapper area of it. Depending on what you're able to do, whether you can talk to somebody in charge, point it out. If not, there's always other places. So don't be put off if by chance you kind of come across somewhere that's rubbish. So I've come across lots of rubbish places. I've no idea how I stuck it out, but it's definitely getting better over the years. So I started the hobby 20 years ago. And from that, the first few sort of instances, it was that whole store stop. Jazz music stops, everybody looks. But that now is totally changing. But whilst I'm trying to be positive about it, I don't want to sort of say everything's brilliant now and someone will be watching it going, well, I went in a shop the other day, that was not quite so great. So it's not, you know, suddenly all getting better everywhere. It's little pockets of better, nicer communities. So if you haven't found one of those, we need to set something up, so like cool approved non-weirdo groups or something, so you can kind of point people to good, you know, good welcoming areas. Because I hate the idea of somebody getting really, you know, really excited, turning up to their local game shop, it not quite working out as they imagined, and then just sort of quitting. Whereas like, no, there's lots of good people. Come to us.
I think there's a lot of support on social now. If you do go into your local game store and you discover that there's a bit of an arse behind the counter, you can take to social and go, ladies, where are you all?
Yeah.
You know, and here we are.
You wanted to add something in?
Sorry.
No, I used to work in a game store for like 3 years in a games workshop in the centre of London, and also like near France, but in the UK, basically the closest, the east of the UK. And treat people the same. I just want to put that the same as that if you're a male staff member, don't palm them off onto the lady staff member. Don't do that. A lot of ladies just want to be treated the same. And also, I just want to say, if you're a lady and you go into a game store, and everyone's, kind of got their own things, but like, don't expect different treatment either. Because I know there are some ladies out there who might expect to be treated differently, either in a bad way or a good way. It's a shot. And like, be normal, be yourself, rather than any expectations. I don't know. I had a few problems with women while I was working, and they didn't want to talk to me. They wanted to talk to the guys. So I don't know what that's about, but I tried to be, completely normal and everything. But yeah, being normal and being completely treating everyone the same works.
Is that them not expecting you to know what you're doing because you're a girl, from a customer employee point of view?
That because I was quite young. I was 21, 22. I'm only 29 now. So like I get a lot of older ladies telling me that's not how it's done. It's been a lot different in the past. It's not like that. The industry was very different. I've been playing
back in my day.
Pretty much. I've been playing D&D for 6 years, 5 years. Like I've not been in it, but I dived in deep because it was a job that I had to get. So I don't know, like I feel like a newbie to a lot of people, but yeah, I just as a lady, you gotta be aware of your behavior as well, because that can be really off-putting as well. Yeah.
That sort of goes in with the internalized misogyny a bit as well, where people sort of unconsciously doing that as well. So
yeah, I don't think people go in and actively act like that. I hope not anyway, but because I do a lot of trade shows, obviously I run the company, but I usually have 1 or 2 people helping out that are usually men. So I get that all the time, where it's just like, I'm gonna walk straight past as the man. I'm used to it. And I do have wicked people work for me that tend to go, I don't know, let me try the boss. Lady. But I know that there is that sort of, and I guess also, even if you're not the worst, if you've been somewhere where there haven't been that many women, so you kind of do get used to it, that's the way that you can have that as a sort of non-malicious, just sort of subconscious, like, oh, that must be the owner. Oh no, which is something I've done since being in the industry as well. Gone, oh no, how did that even, of course, so it can get the coolest people too.
I wanted to sort of think about like actually speaking up when these if something happens that is makes you, or you see someone else being made uncomfortable by this situation that may arise, whether it's on purpose or by accident. If it's a case of mansplaining a D&D game to someone who has 1,000 dice around them and obviously knows what they're doing, but compared to someone who, as Annie was saying, just walks past the person who owns the store because they are a woman and therefore could not possibly own anything, not in the wargaming world anyway. I mean, for me, I'm a very outspoken person and I do a lot of shouty rants. I know, shock to everyone. What? but obviously not everyone is a shouty big mouth like me. So what sort of advice would you have for people who maybe aren't big mouths like me?
That's so hard to relate because I'm a big that's hard because I did actually have that happen once in a game, even not too long ago, where I had a guy who tried to basically he tried to play my character for me. And I mean, I've been playing for 30 freaking years. And the GM, I'll tell you what, as a GM, and if this is a game, you need to stop that. Okay, I don't care what the genders or anything else. You need to stop your players from playing each other's characters and taking over. Okay, because what ended up happening was he eventually got to a point where, I mean, I would just ignore most of it. But then there was one time he decided to argue back when I said, I'm doing this. And I basically got up and yelled at him. So big mouth here. I'm too old to care. I'm too old to take this crap from people. So big thing is try to stand up for yourself, I think. And for the record, it worked. because not only did he not say try to take another turn from me the entire rest of that game, we played the next day. Everything was fine. He never said anything else to me after that. I felt kind of bad because I'm friends with the GM, but the GM did not step in. So I think it's really important. I can't, I said, it's hard to relate to people who are quieter because I'm definitely not that. But if you're a GM or someone there, especially if you're the GM, because you should have control of your table, stop that immediately. If you're like in charge, basically, I don't know about in stores so much, but in games, definitely. So that's my point.
No, I think that's a point well made. If your DM is any good, then they should be aware of everybody's airtime, giving everybody time to play their characters, giving everybody a little bit of time to drive the plot. And if you are a quieter person and you're a bit uncomfortable and you don't want to, you're uncomfortable standing up for yourself, you might want to slide a note to the GM or send them a text or slide a note to the person next to you going, actually, this person over here is making me a bit uncomfortable and taking over my character. It's possible the GM can take them outside and have a word with them, or they can just nudge them in the right direction. You know, just keep everybody on track and make sure everybody gets fair airtime.
Yeah,
I have a couple of really good passive ways around having other people take away your agency. And the first one is build it into the mechanics of your character. I had a character who was mute. I interacted with the GM via an IM program. So I never spoke to the table. I only ever spoke to the GM, and I only did it by typing. It meant that it was unusual for me to be typing things to the GM behind other players' back. And it meant that one particular player that I did not want to have any conversations with was unable to get that banter going with me. And the second sort of coping mechanism I have is I almost exclusively, when I roleplay children, because I have never had an assault from any other player character or non-player character while my character has been a child. And that, for me, is the only thing that has stopped it. Dead. Unquestionably, no one's ever going to try anything without my consent, ever. So now that doesn't fix the problem. It doesn't make it better for anyone else. But for me, when I'm not up to fighting some battles, that's a really easy way around it.
Oh, no.
Also as well, so people in chat won't know that, but we have like a safety system that I put in place for us here in the chat. It's the same safety system I use when I'm doing any panels or seminars or roleplay stuff, and it's the X card, and it's a really simple thing that GMs should put onto their tables, no matter what, whether you're best friends with everyone at your table or you're complete strangers, because even with your best friends, you don't know the things that will upset them. You don't know every single moment of their lives, and so giving them that opportunity to say, actually, without having to go into any detail at all, saying, I don't like this. And gives them control of that situation, and you can handle it by just removing that from the story. And it's a really quick, simple way to control the feelings of everyone at the table. And it doesn't have to be like a scenario. If someone is doing something with someone, you just press the X card, have it on the table for everyone to see, where everyone can get hold of it.
I think there should be more on the organisers and the people running, so it's not necessarily down to the people playing the game, because it's one of those unfair kind of things of society where if you're outspoken and you're very confident with that sort of stuff, you're fine. But in this hobby or hobbies, going across, there's obviously a lot of shy people, a lot of people with social issues where they can't, and then if they feel like they can't do anything, it's a lot tougher. So I used to play a lot of Warhammer tournaments, and I kind of survived in those days by just, getting tougher as I went along. And when I was in that world near the end, I thought, well, it shouldn't be, regardless of anything, not just, for women, but for anybody, that those sort of quieter people shouldn't automatically be sort of pushed to the bottom. Whereas if it's so much easier for you to be able to contact Or, you know, so I've played games with Anjuli before where she's GM'd, and it's always comfortable. You always know that if there's a problem, you can do something, and especially when there's a system set up. But I know that a lot of people, you know, they don't want to go and tell, you know, if there's a problem because they're worried that might backfire, or they just, you know, just can't. But if that's set up and almost like an air breaker, air clearing type, you know, thing at the start to go, right, if this happens, all these things, then it's less pressure on the player and they know that they can do something. And I think when I was playing a lot, having something like that, and just, you know, so it's not singling anyone out. You go to the start of the tournament, you know, you do there's the fire exits, and then you have your sort of, like you do a lot of the time now with role-play games, but with sorry, my brain's just melted. With like wargaming tournaments, basically, that, as far as I know, I've been a few years out of it, so I'm not up to date, but that was never a thing. So when something did happen, depending on what sort of zone I was in, because I can go from incredibly anxious and shaking and setting up my models to hello everyone, and so it depends what sort of mood I'd be in. But when I'd had something happen, I'd then have to sort of look at whoever was in charge and assess how that was going to go down, and the fear sometimes that I wouldn't be taken seriously would make me just kind of go, oh, I guess I'll just deal with this one. So yeah, if it's less sort of, you know, the responsibility of the player, it's more the responsibility of the organizer to make sure that everyone knows the score. And I think that's almost like a short warning to anyone who might be considering being a bit of a dick. You know, if you mention that, you know, that stuff will be dealt with, all that sort of stuff, and actually follow up as well. Following up's definitely a big thing.
I say I like the fact a lot of cons and a lot of spaces now have these like really clear harassment policies with examples, but I think everyone should have a step 2, and that is a follow-up on how to report and how those reports will be dealt with. Because it's all good screaming a complaint into a void. We don't know how that's going to be followed up on, or if there's going to be any lessons learned by the people involved. Having said that, I'm really happy looking through the ReaperCon, again, Discord, to see that you have got an anonymous avenue for reporting harassment or anything to the moderators without a fear of reprisal, which I think is very important. Nobody wants to be labelled as overly dramatic or drama stirrer. I think that was a really good touch.
So someone in the chat while we were talking said they had a question that was, why are you continuing to play games with people who seem to be jerks? Which is one thing, but yes, Carol.
Conventions. When you're playing at conventions, and I play at a lot of conventions around New England, as well as run mini paint tables, you can't pick, you don't necessarily know who you're going to get before you play with them. No, actually, on a regular basis, absolutely not. I would not play with people like that. Nope. But at a convention where you don't really have this choice, you're gonna run into players that clash with you, no matter what. I mean, you're not gonna get along with everybody. People have very different play styles. I'm definitely more of a role player. I know people who are definitely more munchkins, and we don't always get along. I try always. Especially for one shots, it's not so bad. But for like a campaign, for like my home campaigns, we definitely have a group of friends that we play with. So, you know, but absolutely, if somebody is bullying you and it's an ongoing game, then yeah, feel free to bow out. There are plenty of games out there you can find with players that will more suit your style too.
Yes, Sim.
I was going to say that may be the case in Massachusetts, but in regional Australia, not so much. I ended up playing with people I wouldn't necessarily play with because it was either that or get no game. Was pre-internet though, pre-Zoom and Corona lockdown.
It was a time.
Or Fantasy Grounds and Discord, they make a huge difference. I'm thinking of that these days, that I think this is the way gaming is going, the direction gaming is going in. I don't think we're ever going to go back to nothing but sitting at a table. I think the whole internet thing is going to continue. So it's great. I think it's fantastic to find games out there. Because you're right, there are plenty of places that you don't have a game store in your town, or you have one like, 2 hours away. Yeah, Massachusetts, you pretty much, there's a ton of game stores here, so, and conventions and other opportunities. But you're right. I'm sorry. I don't want to take over this panel. Here.
When I was doing quite a lot of events, well, as in playing at tournaments rather than Bad Squiddo events, I found that sometimes I would ask myself that question of like, why do I do this? But it's like a few people would be like, yeah, why? But obviously, like most of the time, most of the people were ace, and I've made some lifelong friends from playing tournaments that are just the absolute best. And I did have a lot of really amazing times. The only reason I stopped was, Warhammer 8 stopped, and then I was running Bad Squiddo at that point, and I don't have any time to learn a new big system anymore. But even if you get one in every 20 games or something that's the worst, they obviously still have way more impact than those 20 games that were wicked, because that just sticks on you, so that downer just goes boom. So it's worth it. And again, I'm trying to keep a positive going, and it did throughout the years, because this was sort of 2010 to 2015 was my tournament life sort of thing. So it's definitely better since then. But yeah, so when there'd be something terrible or just a bit rubbish, there would then be loads of really, really good stuff. And I kind of wish I could go back as like future me and just try and make things better then, because I do think that it's not like, saying, oh, I went to all these places and they were all terrible and I kept spending money on more tournament tickets because they were obviously good. But I do feel like what I said earlier, basically, about if the organisers had just sort of made a few changes at that sort of announcement, and not just concerning women, concerning anybody that's there that has an issue. But yeah, they're definitely fun, and I love the tournament days, and I miss them, and I keep trying to find a game I can play that I can pick up really quickly so I can just go to a tournament. Yeah.
So I'd like to take a little bit of time to maybe talk about painting miniatures and that area, seeing as we are at ReaperCon and Reaper make miniatures, and most of us here do paint these miniatures. I'd like to maybe just have a little discussion about women in the painting scene. So I've only been in this for a couple of years. I've been painting and doing commission stuff, but and some of you have been doing it much longer. So I'd like to maybe hear some of your thoughts and opinions about painting, and maybe try and inspire some more women to pick up the paintbrush and join this hobby.
Can I say up front that I am no painter. I have the manual dexterity of a three-toed sloth, and I can't paint for toffee. So anybody who paints, any lady who turns up on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook with all these gorgeous miniatures, I just fall over every time. More. You're all so clever.
Danie,
Wonderful.
Danie, you could learn. You could totally learn.
No, believe me. Some people have two left feet. I have two left hands. I am.
Nope. No. Okay, so
there are definitely the tricks and cheater methods you could be employing, and I think dry brushing is for you.
No, what I was going to say is, I have a friend of mine who is disabled. Her hands, she's got Marie-Charcot-Tooth syndrome, which is a form, I think, of muscular dystrophy, and her hands don't work. But she has painted minis, and they look pretty good, all things considered. So if she can do it, you can do it. Honestly, she's amazing, by the way. But I'm going to let somebody else talk. I do have something to say on this, but please, I've been talking enough for now. Somebody else take over.
You do lots of painting of miniatures.
Yeah. What can I say? Just get painting. Like, everyone paints their first mini. It's not going to be what you wanted, whether it's good or maybe it is going to be what you wanted, and if so, then that's a great start.
And curse you for your first
Mine was
really
not.
amazing.
Mine was not a good one. But find something that you like, that you think is cool. Don't worry about other people saying you should paint like a basic mini first or whatever. Obviously, don't buy the craziest kit you can find and then sling paint at it for your first job. But pick something that inspires you, that you're interested in, that you like, and that you'd like to see painted, and paint it. Like, there are so many tutorials out there, like so many guides for every kind of learning style. If you want videos, there's YouTube, I learn better through pictures and just words, because I find videos really hard to keep up with, which is funny because I'm a streamer. Like, there are books that I love books as well. So like, there are so many ways to learn, and for every kind of painting style, whether you have problems with your nerves or your hands, or you don't have the steadiest hands, there are ways of getting around it. Like, I need glasses as well, yeah. So like, there are so many different ways of getting around, so anyone can try painting. So don't put it off, let it put you off. And there are so many beginner painters online as well, so don't be shy about your painting. Everyone's super kind. I say everyone. There are going to be assholes, but there's assholes everywhere. Am I allowed to say that?
It's too late now.
It's accurate.
But yeah, like, there are going to be people that that just that they'll cheer you on. Like, everyone likes to see a new painter get into it, whether they're a lady, man, whoever you are. It's always great to see new people painting in whatever style as well. There's no right way to paint. I want to put that out there as well. But use all of your tools though. Don't just like corner in on like, I want to do non-metallic metal for my first mini. You can, but you won't have the best time. Be open to things. But yeah, like, and seeing as we're at ReaperCon, Reaper does do great miniatures for that, because there are so many, like
Dragons especially. Oh,
yeah, there are so many dragons.
love the
I have a
dragons.
massive mouseling problem.
Oh yes, the mouselings.
I love them.
I own so many mouselings, because when I was in Australia, Reaper was, I've been told I'm not allowed to slag on a certain company, but a certain company in Australia is prohibitively expensive. So I painted a lot more Reaper when I live back home. I have a secret painting circle secret, and that is that people who paint love to talk about painting and how they painted stuff. So if you see something as you're scrolling up and it's amazing, just beware of the Pandora's box of asking them how they did the thing, because they will tell you exactly how they did the thing. And then if you show them pictures of how you did the thing, they'll tell you how to do the thing better. We love talking about painting to other people who love painting. So just literally just ask.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will say that I think most people are really happy to give out that information. It's not like secret hoarded information. There are some people that will, but for the most part, if you say, that looks amazing, like how did you do X, Y, or Z, they will say, oh, this is how I did it. Actually, I watched this video here, or I practiced on this thing first. So, I think a lot of people forget that practice is a really big part of painting. Unless you're super
secret
lucky.
painter thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like just keep doing it. Like, if you want to try and do non-metallic metals, just get some contrast and just that'll be fine. Done. Get it on the table.
All right. So before we move on, I do have stuff to say about this, because
Yes,
a big part of who I am and what I do is because I've been trying to get more ladies involved in painting. I mentioned at the beginning that one of the things I do is I go to conventions and I go to stores and I run paint and takes at them. And a lot of the reasons why, two things drove me. One, I have a good friend who also is a lady who runs a gaming convention, who knew I painted minis and wanted me to do it for a con. But the other thing that really drove me was the fact I'd look through the White Dwarfs, and I'd look at the award winners for the Golden Demons. And what were they all? They were all men. And I'm like, where are the lady painters? Now, since back then, I mean, that was years and years, like 20 years ago.
All men in Victoria.
But that was like 20 years ago. And since I have found there are definitely ladies who paint. But that sort of drove me to go to events and to welcome ladies, especially. But I mean, everybody. I do feel painting is for everybody. I think the thing that might scare a lot of people, other than the fact that people will be intimidated by it's so small, but also I think the expense can kind of intimidate people. And what I do is I give people a chance to try it before they spend a whole bunch of money and then find it's not really for them. That's the thing. My philosophy is painting's for everybody, but only if you really want to do it. I'm not going to force I can't convince my husband to paint. You know, I've tried, but he's like, nope, no thanks. He's been basically spending all of ReaperCon upstairs in our room or at work because I've had the living room doing classes. Like, this is your thing, not my thing. So just keep that in mind. Don't push it on anybody. But, you know, but that's it. That's a big thing is I really wanted to get more women involved in painting. And they do. They said I do get a really well-attended painting tables and such, you know, at conventions and at the stores. So it made me a lot of who I am. I just wanted to get that out there. So,
Kathryn.
Be welcome.
Kind of how I got into wargaming. I'd run like a mash station at a big convention where people could drop off their dropped minis and I'd pin them and paste them and touch them back up again.
Excellent. Kathryn, you wanted to add into this bit of the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I won't take long. I'll just be quick.
Fine.
Yeah,
Don't worry. You can have as much time as you like. It's fine.
Please.
All right. So say what you want about them, but Games Workshop are really good for getting you started painting. They've got free starter minis. They will sit you down. They will explain it to you. And you know, if you're comfortable in that store, and generally the staff members are actually trained to do this, so they tend to be really good at explaining things to you. So I've always had a good experience there. And even if you're not a beginner, they'll if they're not too busy, they'll give you time and space to actually sit down and paint, and you can talk to them. But do use Games Workshop products when you're there. But also, one thing that I use quite a lot is miniatures magazines. I won't name all of them, but like Fine Scale Modeler is really good. Miniature War Games, I believe it is. War Games Illustrated. A lot of them have step-by-step tutorials by like professional painters and so on. And that can just really help you see new techniques or actually see in stages clearly what each little step does to the miniature as you go in.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Can I just chip in on the end?
That was such a good point, by the way.
Sorry, can I
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Danie, we've lost you a little bit. Are you here? Danie, would you like to chip in?
Yeah, I've got an unstable connection apparently. Am I still here? Hello? Hello?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add that when my son went into the local game shop, they were really supportive about him painting. And over lockdown, it has really helped with his anxiety, really helped settle his nerves, given him something creative to focus on. And I think that goes for more than just teenagers. You know, we've seen it help many, many people with anxiety issues or PTSD or whatever it may be. It's a really sort of, you know, fine creative focus. That's why people have such a huge amount of my admiration for doing it, because it's such a wonderful, focused, creative thing to be doing. It's, you know, good. And you get something at the end of it, which is even better.
If I can quickly jump in on Danie's point, there's like some charities for military veterans, and they basically get together and build model kits together to help with PTSD and other afflictions. So yeah, definitely.
No, it's a good thing. Very good thing.
I wanted to ask Kathryn, because a lot of it, people here are very sort of based in that sort of role play, different fancy world, whereas I know Kathryn's kind of got that military history and attends those sort of military history shows that I go to as well, and I mostly see them as the seller point. But I was wondering if Kathryn had anything sort of advice for anyone who's going to a trade show or convention in that sort of world, well, in any world really, but sort of focusing on that military history type show. We have a lot of those around Britain. Or anything you think could be better, or if you were to go to the next show, something that you go, if they did that would really help.
More room. I've been to IPMS Huddersfield. I think it's actually IPMS Wakefield who sometimes hold a show in Huddersfield. That was ridiculously cramped. I mean, there was like 1.5 meters between dealer tables and display tables. And when you've got gentlemen of certain statures with backpacks either side, and it's, you can't get down the aisles, and you're so scared about knocking, especially display models. You don't want to touch them because that's someone's, hard work.
I was at one show where it was so packed whilst we were setting up that the table next to me kept knocking mine. So when I'm not getting my display figures out, I foresee me crying if I do that this weekend. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, like I met you at Fiasco. Was it Fiasco? Yeah, last year.
Yeah, Leeds.
And like the entrance, like Warlord Games, their stand was cramped. There was a stand with a lot of Reaper miniatures to keep it on topic. That you couldn't even get to the Reaper miniatures. It was that cramped. And then there's yourself in a little corner with Sarissa, and it's like there's room.
Yeah.
I can wave my arms around at Annie, and there's room.
I know there's all partly that responsibility on the trader as well, because I always try and make sure, as soon as we're in that accessibility, I always try and make sure the stand's all nice and open, so you can get wheelchairs or pushchairs and people can just have a bit of space rather than go, I could take more product and I can ram it in there, because I suffer from anxiety, so I tend to think, would I be freaking out on this stand? So it's a good sort of test for like, can I do this? Yes. So I think it's that too, that you can just build things in a more welcoming, and again, just for everyone, because
I like your stand because there's no barricade table across the front.
Yes.
It's like, come step onto the carpet into the calm oasis of happy, pretty guinea pig models.
And balloons. I've had to put one of my lights into the guinea pig pen that I've got here, and I keep looking there, and two of them are chilling under it, and it just looks like a spa or something. So it's off topic.
Amazing. Right, okay, so we've had a couple of questions come through from the chat. The first one is actually sort of aimed at me, so I'm just going to answer this one really quickly and then we'll go into some actual discussion ones. So someone asked how you implement the Stop X card in a virtual or play-by-post game. Virtual tabletop, use a private chat as we're doing here. It's really easy. We also, you can do, if you've got video chat going on, X, N, and O. So you can do that very, very quickly for the people on the panel. If you are doing more text-based, then you can just put an X in your chat, and it could be private. So, or it can be as a symbol. And you can also have like a digital X card. Send it around to everyone, and if something's going on, they can send you a private message that has this card on it, and that will tell you to use that stop card. Someone also asked us if we have any YouTube channel, or do any of us have any YouTube channels where we paint miniatures. Do come over to the Discord, and we will link them in the Discord in the Women in Gaming panel, rather than tell you them all, because yes, some of us here do have those. Next question. Where is it? I just highlighted it. Woo, it's gone. Quick, talk among yourselves.
I think.
Quick. Someone else has asked if we can post the names of the charities that we spoke of in the Discord, please, as well. We'll do that. That's no worries. And also yesterday, there was a panel on mental health and gaming and painting. So go back and rewatch that. Question, what is the general feeling on mini sculpts of women in the industry? Has that improved over the past several years? And what still needs improvement? Annie.
Yeah.
so my entire company, so I must massively do a plug. Go check out Bad Squiddo Games. But what set off my company was I was displeased with the choice of figures that were available representing women. So there are a whole plethora of types, but there was a massive lack when I started. This was 5 years ago. There was a massive lack of just women wearing the armor or the clothes that were sort of suitable for the task, and as they were, and there was a lot of sorry, my brain keeps diddling out. There was I don't know what's happened with my brain. It's gone. Female minis, yes. In the past, I noticed that it wasn't very balanced. I think it's definitely getting more balanced. My company specializes particularly in adding to that. It's adding to the choice is basically what I'm all about. Seeing as we're at ReaperCon, I'd like to mention that Reaper have got a very wide variety. So when we started, I used to stock from different companies. So the company Bad Squiddo was set up by sort of getting bits. We were stocking miniatures from sort of everywhere. All the ones that I thought, well, if you want to build, say, a Frostgrave warband or something like that, you don't want them to all have their boobs out or be like picking up a coin, then you could actually get them from one shop without having to sort of get them from everywhere. And I did stock a lot of Reaper at the time. Now I focus on my own range, but it meant that I've really trawled that enormous Reaper catalogue. And that's something I really like, that they do have lots of sexy miniatures, but there's lots that aren't sexy, and that's the whole point. The variety.
Or sexy in another way.
Important.
Just because they're boobs out doesn't mean they're not sexy.
That's not the auto sexy. One of the massive axe is sexy.
I want to say,
I agree all the way. Having been a woman in armour, when a woman wears armour, you cannot see her chest. You may see a bit of curve. But usually, if a lady is wearing armour properly, you just can't see an enormous pair of boobs. If a lady has more curve, then, you've got a bit of a bump, but no more than that. And I agree with Annie very, very much that there should be representative of sort of everywhere along the scale. If you want to have sexy female minis, that's great. You can have your Red Sonja or whatever it is. But likewise, if you don't, there needs to be Captain Phasma. There needs to be Lady Insensible Ringmail. There needs to be, you take your choice, don't you? Yes, it's something about which I can get on a soapbox and rant no end, but I shan't.
Kathryn.
Yeah, so Danie was right. Like Captain Phasma, brilliant. I love Captain Phasma. But from a historical point of view, it's like there's not even many miniatures of like Joan of Arc, and you'd think Joan of Arc is huge figure in history, really, especially European history, mythical status, and there's so few minis of her. So there's quite a lot of ground to cover there. But also the availability, I think, is sort of part of the problem, because they might be locked behind sort of paywalls. They might be in sets. You might have to buy a 30 quid box set to get one or two minis. I mean, I'm reminded of this pre-order offer with one of the UK miniature suppliers. You have to buy 3 boxes of male troops to get this one limited female figure. And I think that is a problem as well. It's not just the range, it's actually making these figures available, accessible, and putting them out there so people can actually see that you've got them, rather than just hiding them in your lists on your website.
And I want any teenage girl walking into my War Games convention to see themselves represented as much as a teenage boy.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
I think because the last 5 years, it's been my entire life. So my business is life and all is that sort of, which is great because I absolutely love it. I've definitely noticed it almost like exponentially getting better as more and more people realize that, oh yeah, people do that, buy these figures, which is obviously a driving point behind a lot of it. So yeah, although I don't feel like it's, you know, it's not there yet altogether, there's a lot of people now starting to do that. And there was one recently with some wheelchair figures for the combat wheelchair and just stuff like that. And I think
that was amazing.
As more and more people,
that was fantastic.
yeah, more people get on that and go, oh yes, things are changing. So I think we're in a really positive times in that sort of going forward. I don't like that phrase, but it is. I do think there's a lot of exciting variety coming out from now. There's loads of different companies too, and everyone's sort of got their own angle. I think that's great.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we are coming up to time. So I'd like to go backwards and remind people who you are and where they can find you, starting this time with Annie then.
Oh,
Annie, who are you?
Hey. I am Annie Norman of Bad Squiddo Games. You can find me all over the internet as Bad Squiddo Games. So Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we're very active on those. Have a look at our website, badsquiddogames.com, and look at our cool female miniatures. And guinea pigs, there's so many guinea pigs, and cool terrain. Yes, and I do lots of other bits and bobs around Twitter, usually raging about stuff with Anjuli and things like that. So see me there, come join.
And Danie, remind us where we can find you.
Yeah, I am Danie Ware, aka @Danie on most social media sites. I write wargaming fiction, which are these things. I am also the author of the Echo series, which takes a cyberpunk assassin and drops him in a fantasy world, and Children of Artifice, which is a sort of queer science fantasy standalone. I've also written sort of Judge Anderson and various short stories. Yes, and I have been a campaigner for Ladies in Geekdom and Geek Culture for a very, very long time.
Yeah. And Kathryn.
All
the way to find her books.
Fangirl moment.
Because I have Danie's Judge Anderson book. So. Yeah, hi, Kathryn, at Joan_of_orc. That's orc with a C, not orc with a K, because copyright. Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me. I'm just a nobody, really. So
No.
I don't own a store. I don't write. I don't stream. I'm just me.
And you is amazing.
You is amazing.
Don't lie.
Your ears are amazing.
Totally.
With that,
I want to do like a high five from up there.
Sim, who are you?
I'm almost exclusively on Twitter. I'm Painty Sim, PAINTYSIM, over there on Twitter. I talk a lot about painting and I post a lot of pictures of stuff that I used to paint. When I finish moving house, I will set up my painting studio and get back into it, is something I've been saying for the last 2 years. So yeah, grab me on that. I'm also on the Discord, so tag me in on there if you want me to answer any painting questions. I will happily talk for hours and hours and hours getting you going.
Okay, and Electric Eve.
Yeah, so I'm Electric Eve on Twitch and Facebook and Discord and Instagram, but on Twitter I can't think him because I never got around to changing it and I didn't know what to call myself at the time. So yeah, lots of painting. I paint all sorts. I like animals and
as well.
ladies and D&D models, so I do a lot of that. But yeah, it's a whole lot of stuff. So yeah.
And Carol.
Well, I guess I started this. Well, you'll end this actually. So I'm Carol Pandolph. It's a commissioned mini painter under the Muses Touch miniature painting on Facebook, or at Muses_Touch on Twitter, and various incarnations. I have an Instagram and a DeviantArt that I don't use quite as much because who has time? Feel free. I may not stream. It's something I've been bouncing around in my head, but A, I need space to do it, and B, I need time to do it. But I'm always open to questions. So if you can always hit me up on pretty much, I'd say Twitter or Facebook. Those are the two I go to the most. You can always ask questions of me. You can even, show me your work. I love to see what everyone else does. I find everyone else's minis inspire me. And instead, of course, you can find me at different conventions once they start rolling again, you know, teaching mini painting, enabling people to get into this hobby. So, and of course, I'm also on, as the Murder Hobo Inc. Twitch D&D stream, which we actually will be tonight. Our campaign's tonight at 8 o'clock Eastern, sorry, it's still daylight, Eastern Daylight Time on Twitch under M Hobo Inc.
Excellent. And I am Anjuli, aka Geek Girl Bookworm, everywhere online. I paint miniatures. I have a Patreon for painting miniatures. I do some streaming on Facebook and YouTube. I am a big mouth and I talk a lot on Twitter about all sorts of weird and wonderful things. I have, as you can hear, pet birds who make a lot of noise on my streams. They're delightful, especially the new one that I got. You can see pictures of them on my Twitter if you like birds. I love birds, so come see the birds.
You're upsetting my cat, actually. She can hear them. Her little ears are going. I've got to keep it.
One last thing to say. Tomorrow morning is a all-female game of D&D on the ReaperCon channel. Sponsored by Nightheart Gaming. It's called Maximum Maidens. Please go and watch it. They are amazing. So you can catch us over on the Discord. We will put in the links of everything we've spoken about and where you can find us. We'll add all of that in. Please do keep the discussion going. Just because we're not here talking it with you doesn't mean it should stop. And yeah, we'll jump in and we'll talk to you about anything you need to know. But yeah, I guess that's it for us. Thank you everyone for watching.
Thanks,
and
Anjuli.
for being interactive with
Can
us.
I just say two things really quickly?
Yes, go.
First thing is that all-female D&D game tomorrow is on at 10 a.m. Central Time.
Thank you.
And the second thing is, can I just personally say thank you very much for Reaper for putting this online, because it means that I, as a foreign person with no money, can actually come to ReaperCon for the first time. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you, 20 years now. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone. And
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Love you all.